What is up, guys? And today we're going to be talking about pretty much the best PvE team, in my opinion, that you can run for adventure mode. And although in the past adventure mode was kind of a joke, with the release of new episodes, actually you're going to see that the story actually gets harder and harder. Starting from like episode 4, I'd say it gets extremely difficult unless you've been playing for a while. And because of that, I'm going to show you guys what team I've been running for about 90% of the content here. Now, of course, you can't just run one team. There's going to be some bosses where you have to swap out your team, which I'll talk about separately. But you can see, I pretty much beat episode 10. I didn't beat the extra side story, or episode rather. I pretty much just got to the point where I unlocked specialty change Amiki, and then I called it there because I really wanted to unlock a specialty change, and that's pretty much the most important part about completing episode 10 currently. But before we continue any further, guys, I want to talk about App Gallery, an app which is available on any phone or emulator with the Android operational system. App Gallery will allow you to find exclusive deals and gift coupons for the mobile games that you play, and by clicking my link in the description box, you will receive a $2 welcome coupon. You also will get 20% cash back by registering with Brazil as your region, and when you use PayPal as your main payment method. If you're not from Brazil, it is fine. This is just to access the 20% cashback reward. It is super simple to set up. As you can see, I have it downloaded here on my BlueStacks, which is an emulator that supports Android, iOS, which is all you need to use App Gallery. You can see I am logged in. If you want to log in, it's very simple. Obviously, you just have to register, and just make sure that you just fill it in. Put your email, your phone number, and everything. And then what you want to do is actually go to games here at the bottom, and then go and type in Epic 7 like this. And you'll want to install Epic 7. By doing so, you'll actually be granted access to that $2 free gift code or gift coupon, and also you'll be able to get 20% of your purchase refunded in terms of cashback when you use PayPal. Also, guys, not just for Epic 7, but for other games as well. If you go to the main page and go to promotion here, you will see that there are a ton of offers available for you depending on the region that you have selected for different games of your choice on your phone or your emulator on your computer. Definitely try App Gallery, guys. It's just a free way to get free stuff, and I'm sure you will not regret using App Gallery to make your purchases in game. So on your screen here is the team that I actually use for, like I said, 90% of adventure mode. Very stable team. You can pretty much bring this into like Automaton Tower, probably Abyss as well to a certain point. But keep in mind, you will have to swap out some of these units for some other units in case you're fighting bosses that punish things. For example, if a boss punishes extra turns, you don't want to bring Tamron and Brieg because they both have extra turns, so you want to swap them out. But in general, this is probably one of the best baseline teams you can have on your team. And this team's going to have a main damage dealer in Landy, also a damage dealer in Seaside Balona who can also defense break, so like a sub defense breaker, backup defense break. You have your main healer and also attack buffer in Tamron, who of course does everything else as well, like cleansing and dispelling. She's just very strong with dual attacks and stuff like that, CR pushing as well. And then we have our main tank or frontline unit, Brieg, who is a very, very bulky unit that does moderate damage and also has a full dispel and a defense break as well, and a barrier for your team. So you can see this team is pretty much lacking nothing. You get defense breaks, you have 2 units that can defense break, you have 1 unit that can full cleanse your team, you have 2 damage dealers, you have a knight that can fully dispel, right? And you also have decent sustain if you have an artifact on one of your ranger units, which I'll actually show you is on my Landy. So pretty much covers all the bases. Like I said, on certain bosses you will want to swap out some units, but for the most part, pretty safe team overall. Just a very good core set of units. So starting off, I'll show you guys my Landy here. Now, you don't have to take my stats too intensely, right? It's not really something that is gonna really pertain to everyone's account. For example, my Landy's on lifesteal set, probably not a good idea. It's mostly because I tried to use her in PvP as a joke, but you definitely want to run her on like the speed set. Speed set with pen set's ideal. If you want speed set with crit chance set, it's fine as well. You can pretty much build her on full damage, but if you do have some like health investment into her, it's very, very good because she is a bit squishy because she's a ranger. For her artifact, this is probably the most important part. I highly recommend getting Bloodstone. Now, we do have the events running where you can get a lot of artifact selectors, and I definitely recommend getting Bloodstone because this makes it so that your team will not have any healing issues. Now, with my team that I'm running, because I actually have Tamron, you're going to see that Tamron isn't the best solo healer in the game, especially because that her healing mostly comes from idle form, which starts on cooldown. So because of that, what you want to do is put on Bloodstone on your Landy, and this works very well on her because Landy hits super hard. She has a ramping attack when she takes turns, or attacks rather. She also has this AoE damage ability that does a ton of damage when Fighting Spirit is full, with a speed buff and just crazy amount of damage on an S1. And this pairs very well with Bloodstone because it will actually heal based on the damage that she deals. Now you can only heal one ally, but because she cycles so quickly with her S1 and her S3, you're going to see that she actually can heal your team a decent amount. So Landy, very powerful damage dealer, and as you'll see, she's a pretty powerful healer as well. She is going to be your main damage dealing unit, and when you have her on Bloodstone, you'll see that she is pretty much your main healer as well, which is pretty crazy to say. Now the other damage dealer I have is Seaside Balona. Seaside Balona, you can pretty much put her on just like a full damage build. Ideally, you do want her to have some effectiveness to land her defense break. Her defense break is very nice because it's AoE, and you're going to see that if your Brig misses his defense break, you can actually land it with SSB and it's fine. Very strong. You can run her on Daydream Joker. You can also run her on Bloodstone if you want more healing as well. But Daydream Joker is fine. You're going to see that she's going to do a decent amount of damage with this. And you can run her on a mix of builds, right? You can put her on speed set, you can put her on destruction set like I have, you can put her on lifesteal set, right? If you want to keep her more healthier. But just in general, very easy to build. Both these damage dealers are super easy to build. Now these both are limited units. If you don't have access to them, you can use Bomb Model Kana. She kind of fits the similar role to Landy. You can put her on Bloodstone. She has a Dispel on her S3. She has a speed buff for your team, which is very nice. You can also use a unit such as Spectre Tenebria. She has a Poison on her S1, which is going to do max health damage, which is very nice. You also have this safety in your S2 as well. A lot of different units you can use. I think Landy and SSB or Seaside Balona will be the best damage dealers though, because they do a ton of damage, and Rangers are just super broken. They have really good artifacts for PvE, mostly because of Bloodstone. Now for the two other units, we have Brig and Tamron here. So let's start with Tamron. She's pretty self-explanatory, right? She does a ton of support for your team. She has an attack buff, she has a CR push, a full cleanse, she has a dual attack, which is very nice. And only thing you really need to worry about is probably getting her to 200% effect resist if you can. If you can't aim for this in the beginning of your account, it's fine. Just eventually get there, because later on in episode 4, you're going to fight some bosses that have very annoying debuffs. So because of that, you do want some high effect resist. If you do it 200, you'll pretty much be immune to everything. And having her on Magaraha's Tome to actually cycle is going to be very nice. If you're actually seeing that you're struggling with her healing, or your team's healing in general, and you don't have like a Bloodstone, you can put her on Rod of Amaryllis. It'll help out her healing a ton, so it's a very good option as well. But Magaraha's Tome is going to be better, so you can cycle to actually activate your idol form, because we all know how OP she is with this idol form because of how her S2 is in her idol form, and her S1, right, with that dual attack as well. Next, we have Brig. So Brig is recently released, I'd say like a year ago. In the past, what you'd actually do with this team comp, or what I actually did, is I'd run like Adventurer Ross instead of him. And then I'd run like Asaria instead of Seaside Balona. But because Brig just does what Asaria does, except the cooldown reset, but better, and just what A Ross does but better, Adventurer Ross does but better, we're going to have him as the best frontline in the game for PvE content. And that is because he's super easy to build. You can see that I have him on pretty much just whatever gear that I have, and he's not even fully awakened. I have like barely any Mulagoras consumed on him, because you're gonna see that he's very easy to actually use without much investment. He has this full dispel, defense break, speed down debuff, super strong, right? Increased effectiveness of this attack by 50%, which makes it so that you only need 30% effectiveness to land on bosses. You also have this barrier effect, which is super strong to let your team live. If you actually invest skill enhancements into this barrier is actually pretty decently large. It also lasts for 3 turns, which is insane. So it makes him a very powerful unit. You get built-in damage for some reason, and you get an extra turn. You're gonna see that he can S1, right? This will also, activate as S3 once you hit 100 Fighting Spirit. And yeah, you just have a lot of ways to generate Fighting Spirit. Basically, he's a defense-breaking, dispelling machine that has a ton of shielding for your team as well, and cycles very quickly as well. So definitely going to take the cake as the best frontline unit. If you don't have him, you can use Ross, but as we know, if you actually look in the Adventurer's Path here, which I actually haven't completed because I already have him, if you actually go to the new Adventurer's Path, you'll see by completing Hero's Path 1, which is available after achieving adventure, you'll be able to get Brig for free, and Smilegate just added that to actually help us out with new players. Now that is the team that I use for most of PvE. However, I said, you can't use it for every area of content. Sometimes you want to swap out 1 or 2 units depending on the content that you're doing. Or for example, if you're fighting Zeo here, because if I can actually find it, you're going to see that you need to actually soul burn a lot. You'll see at the bottom, very bottom of this passive here, if you look at it, after an enemy uses a soul burn, dispel his dark aura, which you definitely need to dispel. You can't really use this team because you want a team with very cheap soul burns. So just looking at like very hard bosses, if you're fighting them and seeing that you're losing when you're autoing or something like that, you definitely want to switch up your team. But for general purpose adventure mode, just cruising through, very strong team. And a lot of the bosses that actually have special mechanics, with this team you can actually pretty much just breeze through and just complete all the content. Thank you for watching, guys. If you guys have any questions on the team builds or something like that, or if you guys are already watching this video and you're a late game player, then make sure you guys actually comment down below with what teams you actually use for adventure to help out the new guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.